560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. That theme music means it's time for our weekly confab with Ted Dabrowski, president of Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Big day yesterday as the state of Illinois inaugurated human butter cow for his second term. That would be Governor Spalding.
Yes, and there was a big fanfare. They had fireworks inside. They had Bruno Mars. The couple had their first dance. You know what they danced to? Because I'm sure you don't care.
Eat it?
No.
Looks like we made it.
Oh, yeah, that was their first dance.
Yeah.
But the two lies, because I watched it so you didn't have to, his speech, you know, he started out, I don't know if he was trying to be cute, but it's just more delusional lies from the left. You know those fire Pritzker signs? And if any of you have driven south of I-80, you saw them everywhere. Well, guess what? He saw them too, and he was a little concerned.
I was concerned about this until my kids pointed out that when people in their generation think something is really cool, they say, that's fire.
Dad, you're embarrassing us.
Yeah, I didn't say
So
that.
I want to take this moment to thank everyone who put up those very encouraging signs.
I love it when politicians attempt to impersonate a human being,
But Dan,
attempt to present a personality.
I don't know if Illinois is a free state. I mean, it's just what the same talking points Governor Newsom used during his inauguration.
Illinois, we have power and we have hope, and a genuine goodness that is rooted in being the place in this country to which all people can come and live free.
You felt like we've lived free the past 3 years there?
All people can come, that's true, although more people are going than coming, aren't they,
Yes.
Governor? Again, Illinois losing 140,000 net last year, July to July. Now, Illinois legislators voted themselves a 17% pay hike to $85,000 a year for a part-time job, which was completely fair because we lost some ground to our blue state counterparts in places like New York. They were able to drive 180,000 people out, and they got a 30% raise. So 180,000, 30% raise, you tear it down, 140,000, you drive out of your state, you get 17% bump. That seems fair to me.
You predicted that, though, remember?
Oh, well, this is the point. If you're in the incredibly shrinking blue America, the way that you ensure job security and the ability to vote yourself raises without any concern about retribution politically is you just drive more people out of the state, because who's leaving? People who actually want to live in a free state that also features some level of political sanity. Places like New York, Illinois, California don't feature that. And so the worse we make it, the better it gets for us. And all is right in blue America. Incredibly shrinking blue America, but blue America nonetheless. For more on this, Ted Dabrowski joins us. Ted, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. Yeah, the flood of extremism continues, and I think it's got to just play out. If you watched his speech, he's promising more free stuff, right? Free college, free preschool for all that stuff, and more goodies to come. And he's going to try to finish his gun ban and strengthen the abortion laws, and this will be the ideal place for people to live.
Strengthening abortion laws. What are we going to, like, infanticide up to the year of 5? How do you strengthen them when you've got abortion on demand all 9 months, taxpayer funded?
Well, you make sure that if things change at the federal level, things stay the same here. So I guess that would be it.
Well, one of the other things you do, though, which has been suggested, is for people who are visiting Illinois to get an abortion, birthing people. I don't want to be, too specific. I don't want to exclude anybody. Birthing people come to Illinois for an abortion. Well, let's put them up in a hotel at state expense. Let's feed them at state expense. Let's provide. We can continue to go on and on to attract more birthing people to have their abortions here.
Yeah, and that's precisely what they want and what they're doing, and it's across the board the same on everything that's going on. So it's happening. I think we can only watch extremism keep going until it goes so far that at some point, we keep talking about at some point, whenever that is, even the center left says, "What the hell happened?" Right, and that's when perhaps the change can happen, if ever.
Well, when you watched yesterday's inauguration speech, 25 minutes long, did it feel as if he was running for president, seeking higher office to you?
Well, I watched the New Hampshire and part of the Florida speeches that he gave, and those were unabashed presidential run speeches. This one didn't feel the same, but I think he is. I think he's certainly got his eye on it, and he wants to be able. And this part of why he's completing some of the things he's doing is he wants to be able to run on that platform and be strong about it, like he's been in those speeches he gave in Florida and in New Hampshire. He wants to go all in. With the gun ban and all those things, for him, it gives him more power to speak up, which makes it, I think, fascinating face down between him and a guy like DeSantis.
And that's why he was on the House floor. But he was on the House floor in the middle of the night to get that photo op. I was there when we passed stricter, gun rights and a banned assault weapons, so that he could use that, I think, for a political ad for president.
Yeah, why not? And then
that really distinguishes him. Everybody is for gun bans. Everybody is for abortion on demand all 9 months. Everybody is for calling women or trans men birthing people. There is no daylight between any of these candidates. They're completely uninteresting, and unfortunately for Jelly Belly, he is not the most attractive candidate of the field of would-be's to replace Biden. So whatever. The good news is that he's going to continue to do his great work in Illinois, at least for the next 2 years in the run-up to running. Ted, James Freeman, writing in the Wall Street Journal, talks about this boring story, leaving the land of Lincoln. He talks about big companies leaving Illinois, and now Tenneco, the auto parts manufacturer that was Lake Forest Base, is going to Michigan, and he talked that there's some talk about how Allstate sold off its corporate campus and now just has this one little building up there in Lake County. And, people like you and James make a big deal about it, but it's no big deal. David Collis, who's a professor at Harvard, I said. I hope you heard that. It's not a big deal. Corporate headquarters have become much less important than they were 20 years ago. So Lori Lightfoot and Pritzker and all the Dem socialist politicians who have shrugged their shoulders as these big companies have left, they're right, and you and people like James Freeman are wrong. Corporate headquarters don't matter. Yeah,
if you want to talk about just corporate headquarters, well, that's one thing. But if you count it, if you look at everything else that's happening in Illinois and in Chicago, you start to add them all up, and that's what a smart person would do. So, David Collis at Harvard may have made his comment, but when you take the number of people who are leaving, think about it this way: Texas in the last decade grew its population by 4 million people. Right, that's like a third of Illinois in a decade. We barely held ground. We lost 18,000 in that decade. Now we've lost over 200,000 in the first 2 years alone. Think about if you're a corporation trying to expand. Do you want to have your investments in a state that's shrinking, or do you want to be in one that's growing and thriving in this pro-business? It's a growth model. That's where you want to be, and you see that. Rivian has its EV plant. Sorry, they have the EV plant here, but they're spending $5 billion and some 6,000 new employees in Georgia. Stellantis, rather than building a battery factory here, is building it in Indiana, $2.5 billion. The numbers are huge, and we're losing all that, and all those states are gaining it. So we can keep ignoring it and all that, but it's true. It's happening. It's a slow boil sometimes, but
we got a casino coming. It's going to be fine. We have a casino coming to Chicago. That's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah, and you can't ignore the cannabis revenues have done really well. So
yeah, exactly. So
smell pot everywhere.
Cannabis in the casinos.
Light it up and put it on pass, and let's just get on with it already. Stop all this crying. But one thing that James Freeman points out may be of interest to some people, not Illinois voters, but just people that have an interest in public policy. The Allstate thing, one of the things Allstate is doing by shrinking its corporate campus is allowing most of its 5,400 employees up around Lake County to work wherever they want. So maybe they don't want to work or live in Illinois. And, that's 5,000 people that are probably doing pretty well working for Allstate that are going to take their investments, so their buying of homes, and their sending of kids to school and everything else that one does. They're going to take their business somewhere else. And so, 5,000 here, 5,000 there, 140,000 here, 180,000 there. And pretty soon you're talking about real population loss.
Right, and that's precisely how it works, right? And it's the two sides of it, and that's what people forget, especially people talking about this. We lose people who are frustrated, whether it's the taxes, the jobs, the crime, the sex scandals, whatever it is, right? We lose people. But, as this Wall Street Journal and other periodicals show, put Illinois in the bad light. Well, there's going to be a lot of companies who wanted to maybe expand into or thought about expanding to Illinois who said, I'd rather go somewhere else. So the expansion or the lack of expansion, the lack of people moving in from Missouri to Illinois or from Iowa to Illinois, all that so it's a double whammy, more people leaving and fewer people coming in. And that's how it snowballs. And I think that's the big risk. Who's going to want to come here as fewer people live here, as the economy is not as good, as jobs are not as plentiful, as pay is not as good, houses are more expensive, and of course the tax bill is huge. Why come here? So that's what people outside of Illinois will say, and that'll hurt us as well.
Something else I know that doesn't matter, but we'll go through it anyway, just for the pro forma nature of doing so, because I know a lot of people consider themselves fiscal conservatives here. It's kind of funny. The Truth in Accounting has put out their annual best and worst states in terms of their fiscal stability. And as per usual, Illinois is in the bottom 5. They're so-called sinkhole states. New Jersey has the highest debt burden on a per taxpayer basis, followed by Connecticut, and Illinois comes in at 48th out of 50. So, again, I know we've always had balanced budgets under Democrat governors because they said so. And I know that $250 billion in unfunded pension liabilities is not a big deal. And I know that the money that Pritzker borrowed is not a big deal. And I know the problem with the unemployment insurance program, not a big deal. I know none of the money things are a big deal, but I just note that because who knows? I'm not a fiscal conservative like the ruling class here, and I'm not, a policy genius like the people in office here. But maybe someday that debt burden is felt in a way that really compels people to leave even in bigger numbers than they are on an annual basis right now.
Well, the numbers are so big that they're hard to understand, and people aren't sitting around thinking about the size of the pension debts and what's the right discount rate to determine how big they are and all that. What they do know is that their property taxes keep going up and they feel it, and when you look at the numbers, so you take the wonky look and you add them all up, nobody has as big a debt as we do with New Jersey and Connecticut. We have massive debt. And if we're going to pay those pensions, because it's all pension and retiree health care for government workers, if we're going to pay those debts down over time, as the government promises, well, then there's only one thing to do. So either you can get a federal bailout. If that happens, well, that's one way. But the other way is just to tax people more because they've got to come after people with money to pay those benefits.
Totally agree. Let's do it.
And that's it. And so you can be whatever camp you want to be in. But the numbers are massive. They're coming after you, and that's why people leave. And it shows up in their home values. It shows up in their tax bills. It shows up in lousy schools. It shows up everywhere. It becomes kind of decrepit, and that's the path we're in.
Yeah. No. I hope he finally makes these fat cats like you and your friends on the North Shore to pay their fair share. I'm hoping for that. One other thing too, I thought was humorous. I thought I was reading Babylon Bee, but it turned out to be the Tribune. They had some commentary about regionalism and regional cooperation, and let's not be competing for moving a corporate campus from Oak Brook to the West Loop, or from moving corporate headquarters from downtown to a leafy suburb. Let's the city and the collar counties, let's all get together and work together as one for the greater good. It's funny because this is sort of an evergreen editorial that has no connection to the real world or to this sinking ship of state called Illinois, where everybody is just trying to hold on to anything that floats for their parochial purposes. But hey, it's a nice gesture. It's a nice sentiment,
Yeah, maybe we can even do that with the nearby states. Remember they tried that? Let's have that same policy with Indiana and Wisconsin. Then maybe we can share more with the others.
Yeah,
I think it's a mess. It's silly. It's silly. That's all I can say.
And I know you guys are going to be on this because basically I think when it comes to issues where the core institutions to prop up the ruling class are jeopardized in any way, it's basically left to us on this program and you at Wirepoints to address them. We've been talking about it all morning. We will continue to. The combination of the sex abuse scandal and potentially a massive financial fraud within the Chicago public school system.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I was able to do a radio show yesterday on this report, the OIG report, and this flood of sexual harassment and abuse at CPS. And look around, like you said, who's going to report on it? Where is everybody? And it's not surprising that the Sun-Times or the Tribune isn't reporting on it. To be fair to the Tribune, they did break this stuff, back in 2018. But nobody's reporting on it now, and it's just a signal, or it's just the same old thing, right? Everybody's got to cover each other's butts, and nobody wants to get in Lightfoot's bad graces. It's a election time, so that we're all going to work together, whatever it is, but they're not going to talk about it. But it's when you combine, you combine all these things. You have to combine. This is not a sexual abuse issue. This is they don't teach the kids how to read, right? We talked about it. 1 out of 10 black kids can read. We allow the crime to go rampant. We don't punish bad behavior. We have all the corruption. We have this teachers union that is the most militant, most aggressive, most, I have to say, nasty union in the country. Mm-hmm. Put all that stuff together, and it's no surprise that you've got a flood of adult on student sexual abuse. No surprise.
And by the way,
nobody's going to do anything about it.
Yeah, and by the way, hey, in the suburbs, you may want to check this out, too. In DuPage County, which is a blue county now, 57% of DuPage County public high school students failed the 2022 state English exam. Scores fell 15% from 2019. So they fell 15% during the pandemic. More than half now of DuPage County public high school students failed the 2022 state English exam. All those great schools and great school systems in DuPage County. Boy, I just love it. I just really
Dan,
love it.
I've tracked it across the state. Everybody's collapsing, and it's right. The demand for excellence in education is falling everywhere in all the suburbs, all over the places. There's very few pockets that are trying to keep up with. I'd just say an excellence, a merit, an achievement. It's everybody's getting soft, and it's going to hit all the good areas as well as the bad areas.
Ted Dabrowski, president of Wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Ted, thanks as always.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
It happens every year. Winter. Delivering and receiving supplies and getting people where they need to go can be impossible. Keeping your business's doors and gates working properly to keep out the extreme weather is a major concern. Your business can't afford a loss of income or productivity. Be ready. Call Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. for your commercial door maintenance and security tune-up now. You can't always plan when your doors break down, and it always seems to come at the least convenient time. Industrial Door Company will ensure your doors, grills, gates, and dock equipment are working to specification and give you advice on how to increase the life of your doors. See a range of products and services at industrialdoor.com. Call 847-258-5620